Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV2. The main talking points on tonight's programme. The SFA make an official approach for Michael O'Neill to be the next Scotland manager. Celtic hold their AGM. The SFA announce their new academy structure. Yeah, lots to talk about on the programme tonight. It's Wednesday. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin. I'm delighted that former Rangers and Scotland captain Barry Ferguson is here with us in the studio. Let's have a look at the morning papers and the back page headlines first of all for you. And as far as the Daily Record is concerned, 8 games in 8 weeks is all about this hectic schedule that potentially Celtic, if they win the Premiership title, will face next season in Europe to try and get to the Champions League. And of course there is the distraught figure of Martin O'Neill after Denmark hammered the Republic of Ireland 5-1 in Ireland. And also Irish offer SFA target Michael a new deal. This is of course Michael O'Neill, and as you are well aware, there's an update on that with the SFA now making their move. Also in the Sun, and again this relates to the story of Anne Budge hoping that the main stand will get its safety certificate in time for the match on Sunday against Partick Thistle. So there's it's going to go down to the wire, I think, is the general feeling there. And looking at the Mail, and a brilliant photograph of Christian Eriksen, and I think that's an indication of the joy and the performance of the Dane, who was absolutely magnificent, scoring a hat-trick in that match. And there's the Courier again. In fact, the Press and Journal, I beg your pardon, Aberdeen boss hopes to leave well with a cup final headache. And this is ahead of their game at the weekend, and there's more pictures of the Danes celebrating last night, which we will undoubtedly talk about. So, Ruffy, they've showed everybody their hand. It's Michael O'Neill they want.
Yeah, well, I don't think any of us have got a problem with that. You know, I think everything that he's done with Ireland has been fantastic with the group of players that he had. He seems to have had them very, very well organised, and even right through both groups, this one and the last campaign, he's been very good, and everybody talks very, very highly of him. And I don't know him personally, but anybody who's often spoke to Jimmy Nick, you know, and Jimmy Nick raves about his man management and everything. So no, I don't think it's a bad one.
Well, I do know him personally, Barry, from my time in Edinburgh. Great lad, brilliant personality, great people person as well. But the evidence of what he has shown to so many people about getting Northern Ireland, a group of players that some of them playing in the lower leagues have achieved, is quite remarkable.
It is, I think, the job he's done. I mean, at the start he struggled a wee bit with the results, but since then, yeah, I think he's done a remarkable job. I'm not surprised that Scotland are in for him, and I suspect there'll be a number of other clubs and nations interested in him. You hear the players. I know it's easy for players to speak about managers, but every single player holds him in high regard. As you say, he's a real proper guy, and I like the way he goes about his job. I like the way his teams play, and I think he'd be a great manager for Scotland. But we'll just need to wait and see what happens. Yeah,
would you be happy that he comes in? Do you think he's coming in at the right time to do something that maybe Gordon Strachan couldn't do? Do you see, if they do get Michael O'Neill, this manager inheriting young players coming through that he could do something with?
Maybe he's looking at Northern Ireland's job, and I think he's made a few comments in the past that there's not a lot of young kids coming through. We have, on the other hand, we've got a number of young guys who are capable of coming in and playing. We've mentioned plenty of names before, like your McGinns and McGregors, and he's certainly a manager, I think, that will no shy away from playing these sort of guys.
Yeah, Robbie, do you think everybody else will be heartened by this move by the SFA? Because quite simply, I mean, he doesn't have a long CV, you know.
No.
You know, it's Northern Ireland. Before that, it was, well, I think it was Brecon.
Yeah, well, it's more of an international CV than a club one, you know, because he's been in that job longer. But sometimes, you know, certain people are better adapted to that kind of scenario than the day-to-day. We always debated, you know, we all want, if we were still in the game, you'd want to be day-to-day, you'd want to be Monday to Friday in the dressing room with everything that goes on there, and then the game on the Saturday. But some people like the international scene where they've only got about 8 or 9 games a year, and they're meeting up with the players and they can go and watch players, and it's up to the individual, but he must think that he's at the stage where he enjoys the international stuff.
Yeah, and of course the key issue here is, Ruffy, the SFA will be able to offer him a more lucrative package than Northern Ireland could.
Well, I think they have to pay what the going rate is. You know, I don't know what he's on at Ireland, but you would think that you know, they would realise his worth, you know, and give him the value that it is.
Okay, so give us your thoughts on it. Michael O'Neill is the man the SFA want. At Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. So from Michael O'Neill, some of the managers will obviously be giving us their thoughts on it, and all the players as well. There was, of course, a Northern Ireland internationalist, Jordan Jones, playing for Kilmarnock, who was hoping that O'Neill would decide, even with an SFA approach, to stay with Northern Ireland.
I think if you asked any single player in that dressing room, would they want him or would they not? I think everybody associated with Northern Ireland would want him as the manager because of the job he's done, and he's not just a nice manager, he's a really nice person off the pitch as well. So, like I say, everybody wants him to stay, whether he does or not. That's his call.
Yeah, just wonder what the contingency plan is if they don't get him.
Well, I think they would have to move very quickly, because we already think that there will be English clubs fancy having a shot at him as well.
I've heard Sunderland being linked with him, but Sunderland for me is the poison chalice. If you want to kill off your football career, go to Sunderland.
Yeah, I think it's all about him, just as I said there. I think it's about him, what he wants day to day, what kind of... I mean, Gordon Strachan loved it, you know, just meeting up with the guys, and you can see the bond that he had with the players, and that's where he seems to excel in, you know, getting the best out of players. So, yeah, it's good that if it is him, then they've moved very, very quickly, and hopefully they can come to some agreement. Okay,
the SFA, and in particular Malky Mackay, they've been very busy today. They have released the details of the Project Brave Elite Academies. So we've got 3 categories here, which the top 8 clubs are in the elite: Aberdeen, Celtic, Hamilton, Hearts, Hibs, Kilmarnock, Motherwell and Rangers. And then you've got the Progressive, Ayr United, Dundee United, Forth Valley, which will be a collection of the clubs in that area, Inverness, Partick Thistle, Ross County, St Mirren and St Johnstone. And then the Performance, Dundee, Fife, Morton and Queen's Park. Unusual to see Dundee in that area. Neil McCann, the Dundee boss, had a comment or two about Dundee being in the 3rd tier group.
In terms of Project Brave, as I said to you, there's a financial implication there. There's a ridiculous sum of money you have to have, and you have to be prepared to put in before you see anything. Now, we are not in a position that I feel that we can just suddenly start throwing that cash around easily without understanding that there could be, you know, ramifications of that if it doesn't go well. So I understand the club's stance on it, but we're there to some degree, and we'll not stop trying to develop kids, because I think it's so important.
Okay, you have to put in a fair bit of money to get the structure in place before you were going to be considered for all 3 tiers, Barry. But on the evidence of that, Malky Mackay has laid the cards out here. Now we need to see results.
We do, but listening to Neil there, a ridiculous amount of money tells me that it's not just a couple of £100,000. It looks to me if it's going to be nearer £1 million, round about that they'll need to put in, and clubs can't afford that. Like, Neil's obviously going down the route. They've got to stay in the Premier League, so if they invest that into a youth structure, you're not going to see the benefits of that for a number of years. So it's a hard one for clubs, but clubs have got to think they want to stay. Some of these clubs need to stay in the Premier League for financial reasons. Yeah, there is a grading on this. Applicant clubs are graded according to a criteria-based system and an assessment, wait for it, Ruffy, of measurable performance outcomes, MPOs as they're calling them. That's what happens at the SFA. The aim is to bring greater focus to talent development and optimise playing opportunities. So the enhanced funding for the MPOs will encourage best practice with the objective of Project Brave to harness the success of a strategic plan and ensure a more efficient pathway to first team football.
I think the way we'll gauge it is if we've got a greater amount of young Scottish players playing in the top level of Scottish football and also going on to even greater levels.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's the quest, you know, if we can get players through quicker. We've already seen our two big teams, the youth teams getting beaten last night and the one the night before. So we're still behind, we still need to improve. We're looking at some of these players to progress, but they're still obviously maybe a couple of years behind. So the more and more we do, it'll be interesting to see. Obviously I don't know the ins and outs of, you know, how it works, you know, with the 3-tier system, you know, but if it improves the kids, let's go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, you can give us your thoughts on Project Brave, your club's involvement or indeed non-involvement in it at the moment at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and Facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. After the break, we're going to talk about Celtic's AGM, which was today. We'll talk about some of the points discussed there, and then we'll move on to football matters coming up over the weekend, including that certificate at Tynecastle. Yeah, you were well out, Ruffy. So was Barry. Was nowhere to be seen there, by the way. I don't think we'll get a close-up on him now because that supercilious face from last week has been well and truly wiped off. Okay, question number one. It's always like to tease you with your knowledge of bit of music, bit of football, bit of memorabilia in there as well. Anyway, let's switch our attention now to Celtic's AGM, which took place today, Ruffy. One of those AGMs where the fans go there and you have a cup of tea, and I think nobody really is angry because when you consider it, I mean, all you have to do is look at the manager's face and some of the board members to get an indication of the year that Celtic have had.
Yeah, I mean, we saw AGMs, you know, throughout the years, and some of them have been very vocal. You know, there's a lot of fans go along there wanting to ask, you know, certain questions. But as far as Celtic's concerned, I don't think there'll be any bad ones round the corner. You know, that the success over the last 4 or 5 years has been there for everybody to see. So, no, I think it would be party hats and streamers at the door.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's the headline for tomorrow, Ruffy, for the Celtic AGM. One thing that I think some of the shareholders who were there, who were keen to ask the manager about, was, is he going to stay? You know, for a long period of time. He said he's happy, and also said that he was looking for a centre half, which again means they're going to strengthen in the January window, Barry.
Yeah, well, it's bad news for the rest of the teams. Obviously, the finances they've got at the club, how well they've done. Certainly, the Champions League money coming in. If they strengthen again, they're just going to get stronger and stronger. They're flying on the pitch just now, going in this unbeaten run, and obviously off the pitch. The finances are doing really well, so I guess it's worrying for the rest of the clubs.
Yeah, and over and above that, they have been able to emphasise the fact that young Scottish players are getting their breakthrough, getting a chance to play in the team under Brendan Rodgers. And this weekend against Ross County, Celtic will have one player in particular, Kieran Tierney, making his 100th appearance, Ruffy.
Yeah, well, every time we get coaches and managers in, I think it's important that young kids get as many games as possible, game time. And you can see with that certain individual that the game time that he's had, he's leaps and bounds. He's way ahead of everybody, every young player, and he's a young player that I'm sure all the other younger players at Celtic will be looking to and seeing that if he can break through, then I've got every chance of doing it as well. But that's not just Celtic. I think it's every young player that we come into. They're all ambitious and want to be playing as many first games as possible.
Yeah, if there is a downside to it all, even winning the league next season could prove difficult. It looks as if the format will add an extra qualification round for the champions of Scotland. Could be facing 8 games before you get anywhere near the group stage.
It's crazy. I've always felt that, even when in my time when I was playing at Rangers, and it was the same for Celtic, if they had won the league, we had 3 qualification games. And you're saying now 8 games to qualify to get into the group stage. I think it's ridiculous. I think champions of their country should be going straight in.
Yeah, the good news, Barry, is if you look up the name Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, who's not a favourite on this programme, I think there'll be 16 teams straight in, and everybody else can just, you know, play among themselves, because that's really what he wants, Ruffy. He doesn't want anybody other than the ones that he deems elite in you know, a European tournament.
Yeah, he seems to be the one that's going for this Super League, you know, with obviously 16 of the biggest and top clubs that is going about. I think that's his
Even if
format.
they're not champions, he wants them in.
Yeah, just the name, you know, and the attendance, obviously, that they bring, and obviously the revenue that would bring from the TV, you know, and that's the kind of teams that he'll be looking at.
Look, you're saying attendances. Look what Celtic and Rangers get.
Yeah.
Celtic get 60,000 every second week, Champions League nights. I don't get it. I think that's strange. You're saying you don't need to win the league to get into this Super League. It's crazy. Yeah. Crazy stuff.
Well, that's it. I mean, even some clubs, like if a Manchester United who had a horror season a couple of seasons back there, you know, invitation straight in because of the stature of them. And you're then looking and saying, well, who else gets into the elite? It's becoming more and more difficult because the big guns are squeezing it. I would presume, when you think of some of the Champions League nights, Celtic would see themselves as one of those clubs that think they can edge their way forward into it. But it still begs the question that, quite simply, we need stronger clubs elsewhere to be performing better in Europe. Yeah, and I'm not just talking about, I'm not going to talk about you know, just isolating it to everybody saying that they need a strong Rangers. I think we need a strong Aberdeen. We need a Dundee United back in the top flight. We need Hearts, Hibs, clubs that can go past qualifiers.
Yeah, it's amazing, you know, that we can't even beat teams from Malta. It's just so, these teams have went so far behind in Europe. It's scary, you know. And if you went to every one of these clubs and you looked at the history that they've got in European football, it's frightening. And I throw Kilmarnock into that as well. Obviously, Hibs had a big European presence as well. So, yeah, you're right. You know, the coefficient is something that the more and more teams we can get into the European stages, the better. Yeah,
and of course, the thing about it is, it's not as if the appetite, Barry, for football in this country has in some way diminished. It's not. It's increasing. No, I mean, people want to watch it. I mean, the SPL survey that's just been released, you've got 772,000 people involved in the community activity in the last year. This is with programmes run by the SPFL Trust. So, I mean, there are very positive figures there. And of course, you only have to look at the incentives that all the clubs are offering to get fans to games as well. And, you know, there's just one item there. The number of clubs offering free admission to children has risen to 62%, up 5% on last year's figure. Now, I think that's the right way to go.
That's the future, getting the young kids. I always think that, listen, I know clubs need money coming in for ticket sales, but under 16s, that's your future generation. That's the people who you're wanting to come to the games. Their mum or dads can bring them to the games, start supporting their teams. But listen, football here, everybody loves it.
Yeah.
You're talking about, it's disappointing watching St Johnstone and Aberdeen getting put out, as you say, in the early rounds. We really need to be getting through the qualification rounds and getting into at least the Europa League to try and get the points up.
Yeah, and it brings me nicely from the positivity of the work that the clubs are doing under the SPFL umbrella to, you know, looking at the international scene. It's hard to believe, Ruffy. I watched it last night. You know, only England are going to the World Cup. Every other nation, you know, Wales not going, Northern Ireland not going, Republic of Ireland not going. Sometimes I think we beat ourselves up in this country too much when you consider what the Danes did to the Republic of Ireland last night in that playoff.
Yeah, that's the first time I've actually saw pundits having a go at Martin O'Neill. You know, I thought I was really surprised by that. Obviously, when the first goal went in, the way that Republic of Ireland play, if you didn't know what was going to happen at the end of the 90 minutes, you would have banked on the Republic of Ireland coming away with a 1-0 win on previous displays that they play. But for some reason, last night, I think Martin thought he needed that second goal, and they were so open, it was unreal. But we've spoken about this in numerous occasions. When you come to the big time, and I'm sure Barry will agree with me, when you come to the big time, you need a big time player. And if you've got a big time player in your team, that's what takes you to cup finals and that's what takes you to European Championships. And they had Ericsson, and he was just superb last night.
I mean, he was absolutely magnificent. I mean, his hat trick was sublime.
It was a joy.
Genius.
I watched the game. It was a joy to watch. But I go back to look at a team like Denmark, size of their country. Look at not just Ericsson.
5.7 million people.
Well, it's the
We've
same
got 5.3.
Well, there's not much of a difference.
No.
But we're talking about Ericsson, top quality player, but some of the other players, they had very good players. So how can we know be doing what the Danish are doing?
Yeah, let's not get into think tank 3, Barry. I mean,
No,
I see where
listen,
you're going here. We're not going over to Denmark. It's like £7 or £8 a pint. That's the first negative thing.
That's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Could it be? I mean, Barry touched on it briefly. I mean, I don't know all the Danish players. Would you say majority of them are playing in Denmark, or the majority of them playing in clubs away from Denmark?
The majority are playing away from Denmark. But the key issue here, and I'm glad you touched on that point. The key issue here is, Barry, we want the Scottish game to progress. We want it to get stronger. But it gets stronger when Scottish players are also exported to top leagues.
I know, listen, you want to keep your best players in the league, but listen, we know it's not the strongest. And listen, we've mentioned Kieran Tierney plenty of times. He's one guy that can go and play at the very highest level. But I'm more than positive there's a number of other guys that can go and play at a high level. And we go back to the Danish, they've got guys that are playing in Serie A, playing in La Liga, playing in top leagues throughout the world. So why can we not have that?
Do you think we're at the stage, whoever the next manager is that we bite the bullet and we give these young guys a chance to bed in for our next competition? Obviously Tierney's in there, McGinn's, you know, the ones, the McGregors, you know, the Christies.
Yeah.
Do we blood them in and we say, right, okay, let's take the hit?
If Michael O'Neill takes the Scotland job, first and foremost, I think he'll look to the young players, and then the first thing he's going to do is think, right, is there somewhere out there a couple of tall centre halves who do exactly what it says in the tin? Ball comes into box, clear it out, defend for your lives. If there are two centre halves and Michael O'Neill can find them, he'll have the freedom of the city of Edinburgh and every other city in Scotland. We'll be back after this quick break. You got to give it to 2006, Ruffy, because Cannavaro lifts the World Cup as well. It's just a year for Italy, and now we're looking at a country that you always thought would be at a major tournament are no longer looking towards Russia in 2018. Oh, how times have changed.
Yeah, I was surprised actually, because I thought at club level they're looking good in the Champions League. I think Roma and Napoli look particularly tasty, but obviously sometimes it doesn't work as a national side.
And of course Juventus have been to the Champions League final as well, but no, it's changed days for Italy, but I don't think they'll be contemplating 20 years away from a major tournament. But right now the big news is that the SFA have made their move for Michael O'Neill. It's now down to him to have a chat with, I think, the Northern Irish FA first and foremost, just to basically out of courtesy to say, look, I'm going to go and speak to the SFA and see what they have to offer, and you know, if it interests them. I get the feeling that we have slightly more sway because of what Barry mentioned in the first part of the programme, Ruffy.
But I still think they have to move very quickly, because we do know there's a lot of managers out there like club football, and I don't know who's available, who's looking for a manager down south now, but certainly they would be interested in him, so I think they have to move very quickly.
Yeah, I don't think they'll have to worry about Sunderland. I know a lot of Sunderland fans will cane me for it, but quite simply, that would be the wrong club to join if he was looking to further his career at the moment. Okay, let's talk about a bit of really good news, which is James McPake back training after a long injury layoff. Now, this is something which I think is close to your heart as well, Barry, because James has had a torrid time with injury, and now he's back training, and it won't be too long before I think he'll be back competing, kicking the ball with the players as well at Dundee.
Yeah, I think he's been out about 2 years.
Yeah.
I was 7-8 months when I had my knee injury, and it's difficult times. You don't feel part of it. You don't feel like a football player. You're obviously separate from your teammates who are away out training. You're stuck in a treatment room. You're in the gymnasium yourself. It's hard mentally. You need mental toughness. You need good people round about you, and I'm sure he'll have that up at Dundee. And it's good to hear somebody who's had a serious injury getting close now, but he just needs to take his time. You've got to make sure it's 100%, get the strength back in it, and make sure you're ready to come back. Because it's when you come back from an injury, it takes you it took me another 2 or 3 months to get up to speed. I was okay fitness-wise, doing it myself with the physio and the sports science guy, but when I went back into the 11 or the 18, I struggled. I knew how far I was behind them, so I had to get a certain amount of games with the under 21 side, and I'm sure he'll do the same up there. But it's great news that he's on his way back.
Yeah, and of course there's a sensible approach from the Dundee manager, Neil McCann.
James has got no pressure on him whatsoever. I was asked that question really early on in the job, and I said that he's got no pressure on him whatsoever to come back. He will come back when he's ready. It's great for us that we see James back on the training ground with his boots. And so often when you've got big injuries, you forget what it's like to feel like a footballer. You don't feel like a footballer anymore. I've said to James the other day there that in the gym that even though he's back training now and to a certain degree he's running and stuff and changing direction and all that sort of stuff, if he wants a couple of days away from here, he takes them. And that is so important at this stage of his rehab. He worked with Jerry, and it's really important that side of it is good, because once that's good, then physically I think it helps you.
Yeah, I think he shows tremendous maturity and understanding, Neil McCann, of what is required. You need to treat someone like that with kid gloves.
That's spot on what Neil said there. I was again coming back from injury at Blackburn. I would train 4 days, and then they would tell me to go away for 3 days. Whether that come back up the road or go away, spend a few days with the family. Work hard for 4 days and I get 3 days off. And I think Neil's got it spot on. Because it's a long, hard road. People don't realise until you actually get a serious injury what it takes out you. But I keep going back to it. It's good to hear that that's him back on the training ground, he's getting his boots on, but it will take a bit of time.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a welcome return for a Dundee side that quite simply are toiling at the moment, Ruffy.
Yeah, I think any supporters would see the worth that he is. You know, he's a leader, he's a captain, you know, he's a figurehead in everything that they were doing, even at Hibs as well. He was an absolute standout. The players loved him there. And we've had him in the show on 2 or 3 occasions, you know, had a couple of setbacks here and there. He was showing us, just as Barry was saying, that he'd lost everything in his leg. You know, it was amazing that he's back to where he was, because obviously Barry's been there, I haven't been there. What's going through your mind, you know, and you are a lonely soul, you know, because everybody else is away doing their own thing and you're just battering away. So all credit to him to get back to where he was, because in the back of his mind, you've always got to have that, well, is that it, you know, at the age he was at? But no, let's hope he can get back and start playing again.
It's a good point. You're saying he came in here and I was looking down at my leg, and once I was allowed to go and do weights and strengthen up, it just wasn't getting back to the size it was before, and it was never the same size. And things like that get in your mind, but that's where the physios and whatever come into, and they play their game and make sure everything's proper. But it is hard.
Yeah. Here's a point though that you must have gone through, that James will undoubtedly have gone through when you are. I mean, I think it was in a game against Dundee United that he picked up the injury, which he's had a long, hard road back from. But psychologically, there must be a point where James and I would presume yourself are looking and thinking, I might not play again.
Yeah, I thought, but when I fractured my kneecap and done my ligaments in my knee. The specialist and the surgeon was straight with me, which I liked. I says that when I went into hospital. I went straight for St James's Park at Newcastle, down in the bus and straight into hospital. And I just said, listen, be honest with me after my scanning. He says it's 50-50, and I wanted to know that. I didn't want him like playing any games or whatever with my head, and he was honest, and that made me a bit more determined to try and get back. But it was a good surgeon I had. I had a few setbacks as well. I had a couple of times I come back, I got to a certain stage and I broke down, and that's when it crosses your mind, am I going to get past this? And eventually the third time when I did, I get through it. And it's a great feeling just getting back on that pitch with your teammates. And the first 5 minutes we were playing in a pre-season game, I got belted the first 5 minutes right on my knee, and I had to come off. I had to get stitches on my knee. The guy went right through me. So
and
that again,
then?
no, but that was good for my mindset.
Yeah,
that I got a right good dunt on it, and I survived that.
Yeah, and that is probably the one moment, Ruffy, that I'll be hoping James, who is, you know, he is at the forefront of, you know, ball coming up, jump, has to land, all of that. I'll tell you one thing, he's the type of player that Neil will probably look at and say, when you are coming back, James, you're on grass. Forget about it. Forget about playing in AstroTurf.
Yeah, I think that's his biggest problem, is his commitment. You know, if there's a 50-50, he's going to go in. Yeah, and that's when he's going to know. Once he gets the first one out the road, you know, and he's fine in the game, and then he can build on it for there. But no, I think you have to be particularly brave to come back for that long and still think you can do it at that level.
Yeah, okay. We will undoubtedly have James on as a guest. We wish him the very best of luck. It's still a wee bit to go, but it'll be great to see him in the dark blue of Dundee. A little bit of news coming out about the Betfred League Cup final, Ruffy. Craig Thompson is going to be the referee for this match, Motherwell against Celtic. Good choice. I still think he's one of the best referees in the country.
Well, that's why he's there, because obviously the marks that he gets week on, week out is higher than everybody else. He's obviously got the experience of European games as well. So I think that's what a lot of people think the referees don't have anything to go for. They certainly do, because they get marked, and that's how they get cup finals and semi-finals at the end of the season.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys, well, he'll be able to take a step back and handle the aggressive nature of Motherwell. Because that's another classic of Motherwell that's been labelled at them. But Craig is one of those guys. He can take a look at things. He can connect with players. I think he's still got that rapport. Something that I think, you know, we make broad generalisations about referees. He's one that I think is good at communicating.
I like him. He's a little old school, going back when you could have a bit of banter. You remember with the refs, and he looks like that type of guy. And listen, he'll be able to handle Motherwell's aggressive style. But I don't mind it. Listen, it got them to the final, and they deserve to get to the final. So he's the right man to referee.
Yeah, and of course Motherwell at Aberdeen at the weekend. Ruffy, it's the perfect test for them. I think Stephen Robinson's already mentioned, if they can beat Celtic in the final, that will be one of their greatest achievements. Do you think it tops 91?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. You know, obviously the way Celtic are going just now, if they were to win to get that game and win it, and you know, who's to say they won't? You know, but obviously the players will have been getting a wee bit of a talking to after the last result they had. You know, I think it just sometimes happens when you get to a semi-final, a final, you drop a wee bit, but certainly I'm sure they'll be up for it at the weekend.
Okay, I think he's an absolute stick-on. Get your money on the Motherwell manager saying the players will be playing for cup final places at the weekend. Where have we heard that before? So it's Aberdeen against Motherwell. We'll look at some of the other games over the weekend in all four divisions in this next part of the programme. Join us if you can. It was the first time on the programme that Barry's got no points whatsoever. maybe slipping. You've had a wee dip. You're always going to have a wee dip, and then you come back.
It's a bad day at the office, but I'll be
Yeah.
back next week. I'll be back.
Absolutely. Listen, at the weekend, I mean, I was just looking there. Did you not win Young Player of the Year in that year, 99? Would you have?
I did. I think I did.
Yeah, which is all the more remarkable that you got that wrong.
I know.
I was just thinking about it there because I can
was up
remember
late.
handing out the awards.
I was up late last night. I was watching a box set, so I'm a bit tired.
Yeah, okay. There you are. Seen that as a front page headline. Baz watching. Which one was it?
Blacklist.
Right, okay.
You've got to watch it.
Yeah.
Got to
good.
watch it. Best I've seen.
Yeah, Ruffy, not quite the kind of box set that you watch anyway. It's got a plot. Okay, let's crack on. Of course, the weekend. Join us if you can. STV2 at 2 o'clock on Saturday, because we will bring you all 4 divisions in Scotland games. Of course, there's the third round of the Scottish Cup as well, so there'll be a quick rejig of some of the fixtures across the divisions, but the Premiership is in action, and we'll be covering that. STV 2 o'clock, join us if you can. Of course, Ross County take on Celtic as the early kick-off. It's Aberdeen against Motherwell, and your team Rangers against Hamilton. It's yet again, Barry, Graham Murty in charge. He said he's had a really good response from the players in training. He certainly had a good response from the players on the park as well, but still no announcement of a manager. I think, if anything, we're all at that point now where we are led to believe they're going to start interviewing next week.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm surprised. I thought it would have happened over international week. Graham Murty certainly came in and he's had 2 good results, and I think they'll win on Saturday against Hamilton, and that'll be 3 wins in a row, the first time they've done that in 7 or 8 months. But I'm not surprised at the response. The players didn't look if they were enjoying it under the last manager. Yep,
Ruffy, Rangers, all they need to do is just keep pace at the moment until the new man does come in. Listen, we're not going to rule out Graham Murty in this equation if he keeps winning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the Rangers supporters will want somebody with a bit of higher profile. Yeah, I'm not saying that Graham Murty wouldn't do a good job to the end of the season. I think his targets would be obviously be second in the league, and I'm sure he's quite capable of doing that. But I think if you're looking for the long term, you want somebody in there who's going to start making his own decisions, and possibly if January comes to bring some other players in. But it remains to be seen. I think like starting to go for interviews tends me to think that Derek isn't, going to be the first choice. Because if Derek is the first choice, you go and get him. And that doesn't seem to be the case. I know you're going to start hitting me with finance and all that. How much it's going to cost and everything.
I'm just going to at this point tell you that obviously, we were in his company over the weekend,
on Saturday, yeah.
And you could tell at the event we were at, Barry, that the majority of the people who were there were Rangers fans who clearly want McInnes in as the manager.
Yeah, I've spoke to a lot of Rangers fans about it, and obviously they've asked me what do I think, and I've mentioned I think Derek's the perfect man to take over, and their response has been that they're all for it. And you've seen the response he got on Saturday night at the dance we were at. He got a great cheer, but I'm with Ruffy. It's strange why they've not been in contact. I'll instead of you saying it, I'll say it. I think it might be finance. I don't think they'll. It looks to me if they can buy him out his contract, because I know he signed a new contract. I think was it in the summer?
Yeah, well,
before.
The figure they're talking about is the £800,000. If we are to believe that that's the figure with the clause that's been negotiated, but over and above that, I mean, I have no doubt in my mind somebody has had a chat with them about it. But I mean, maybe they're just looking and saying maybe I've got to cut them some slack and say that your old club is showing a bit of due diligence because Graham Murty's in there. The ship is not creaking at the moment. Get him there and then wait and see what's available. It might be something out of left field that's better than him, but I don't think there's an abundance of cash to be able to do that. I mean, I think the bigger problem for Rangers, for me, apart from making the right choice as manager, is I think they have to go and get someone who is actually physically going to put in and show the Rangers fans there is the money. You know, because it is not happening with this current board. It almost seems as if they're papering over the cracks. They're just trying to make sure that the boat can, you know, stay afloat without sinking.
Well, certainly in the summer they did support Pedro Caixinha. They gave him a fair amount of money to go and spend it. It never worked, and this is why they've got to get this one bang on. They've got to get this. They've got to get it.
Yeah.
And that's maybe why they're taking their time. But listen, we've all got different views and different opinions. Some in the board might not fancy Derek. We don't know. But for me, you've got a perfect guy to come into it. He's done a great job up at Aberdeen. He knows the club, and I know people going, "Oh, does it need to be somebody that knows it?" I think it does.
Yeah.
I'm no for going left field. We've done that with Caixinha. It clearly didn't work.
Yep.
The players didn't look happy. The team weren't playing well. You look at Graham Murray's come in again, he's done fantastic. But for me, it's different when you're a caretaker to be a permanent manager. There's no pressure on Graham Murray. But if he did get the job, it's a total different pressure. So
I think it would be, and no harm to Graham Murray, I think it would send out a message that Rangers are not strong in the background if Graham Murray got that job, because it would leave him exposed at a time in his life when he's developing as a coach.
He's no, listen, I've heard him, I played international football with him, he's no stupid. I think he knows that he's not ready. He's coming in and he's done a fantastic job just keeping them ticking over just now. But as I go back to it, they need to get this one right. They've got to get this one right. But again, can they afford to buy somebody out their contract? A new manager comes in, he wants his own players in.
Yeah.
Is there money in January? Is there money for next summer? We don't know. We just don't know.
Yeah, I've got to mention that. I'm going to give a mention to it because I think it was a worthy cause. I know Barry might have thrown you off the scent when he said we were together at a dance, which suggested we were in some kind of final, Ruffy. But no, we weren't.
I was about 11 o'clock.
But it was a really worthy cause, which I think deserves a mention. We're up there for Chris Boyd's charity, which is for mental health, which he's doing a lot of work in the background for, which is fantastic. And Jordan Moore, we had him on this show, Ruffy. I mean, I literally had to stop myself from welling up, you know, because of his story of coming back from cancer, a young player at Dundee United with, you know, it all to play for. And of course, young Luke O'Donnell, who's Phil O'Donnell's son, was there as well. 3 charities, cardiac arrest and the Young Teenage Cancer Trust, and of course Chris Boyd's mental health charity. Just a brilliant night, backed by so many players who clearly showed their respects and wanted to get involved.
It was great, current players and past players. It was a great night, raised a lot of money, and 3 great charities. You've summed it up perfect, and it was a good night of what I can actually remember.
Yeah, absolutely. It's probably a lesson, Ruffy, not to meet your mates at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or 12.
That wasn't my decision.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, there you are. There's a cop-out if ever I've seen it. It reminds me of the Motherwell team who thought it would be a great idea to meet up at 12 o'clock, a full 8 hours before the PFA Awards, Ruffy. It didn't end well for Michael Higdon, who won the Player of the Year award and had to be helped onto the stage, but nevertheless, good memories. Hey, there's a couple other stories I want to get your thoughts on, lads. No, sometimes there's no smoke without fire. Suggestions that Ronaldo can't agree a contract with Real Madrid. You know, I think he's... how can he not agree a contract? His stats are frightening.
They certainly are, but he's no different from anybody else. You know, there comes a time when you want a new challenge, you know, and it's up to him whether he wants it. I'm not too sure that the contract will be, what the money side of it will be bothering him. I think it would be where he wants to sort of go in the next bit of his career, and certainly Man United keep popping up, you know, and it might be the case that he's done his bit there and he wants to move on. Yeah,
can you imagine him going back to Manchester United? I mean, they could recoup the money on shirt sales alone, Barry.
I know, but as you said, his stats are unbelievable. I could see him going somewhere like the MLS or something.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the time's right. I still think he's got
something to offer.
Plenty to offer.
Yeah, Paris Saint-Germain.
There's another, I forgot, that's Ruffy's team, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, of course it's Ruffy's team. They can, you know, plough any market in the world under the financial fair play rules and get away with it. Listen, you're worrying about Rangers. Everton still haven't named a manager. It's incredible, Ruffy, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is, and their fans will be expecting a big signing as well. That's why I don't think the guy that's there will get it. You know, I think there'll be other candidates out there.
Okay, great to have Barry with us. Great to have him in here. Never thought he was going to recover from the big dance final we were at the weekend. It's Wednesday. Join us tomorrow on the programme when Kilmarnock Stephen O'Donnell will be our guest on the programme. So from Ruffy, from Barry Ferguson and myself, Peter Martin, thanks for watching us. Join us again on STV2. It's 7:30 tomorrow.